Hey ratbags, it's Jade. Today I'm going to give you the heads up on XP, how to level up and power level certain pals so that you can take them and take on bosses much quicker. As well as go over the basics of XP grinding, how to max cap your character, which I have now done. So if you find it useful, give me a like and let's go. So absolutely the basics, the first thing you need to know, killing pals and capturing pals is the fastest way to level up, bar boss fights. The game literally tells you to capture 10 of each pal to get an XP bonus, so that should be the first thing that you try and do. If you run out of spheres and there's no chance of you making a big lot of them, then go on a murderous killing spree as you'll get nearly as much XP from doing that as well, but you won't necessarily get the bonus for getting 10. Once you've got 10 pals, you'll still get XP, but you're definitely not going to get as much, so after that you can kind of get away with killing them unless obviously you really want more pals to either condense and create stronger ones, or you're going to be butchering yourself to try and get more resources. So yeah, kind of hit the 10 limit, don't bother capturing any more of that same creature unless it's an alpha or a shiny version. Once you've got some pals and they're in your party, be careful about what pals you actually have. The lower the level, the more XP they're going to gain from anything that you do. This is how you might notice you've quickly got some of your lower level pals to be almost the same level as some of the ones that you've had for ages. The big ones with the most XP, the highest levels, they won't get as much as the lower level ones. So you don't really want that XP going to waste just because you accidentally went and tamed and captured a really low level pal. If you've got any spare slots in your party, it will automatically put them inside. So you don't want to be absolutely giving thousands of XP to some low level chicky scrub when you could be saving it for one of your badass alphas. If you do capture any tames that you're not planning to actually give any XP, make sure you go and dump them back in a pal box as soon as possible. Obviously the solution to that is always have 5 pals with you. But again, this is where you can start power leveling. If you know you're going to be facing off against a boss that's got a particular elemental weakness and you've got a few pals in mind that you think you're going to take, it's obviously very good to have more pals. Hopefully they will do the job and you can swap in and out if one of them does get killed. But what you could be doing is only bringing 2 or 3 pals and making sure they are the strongest they can be with their elemental damage against whatever boss it is. That way once you kill the boss, they will get the majority of that XP. And it's the same thing while you're exploring. Sure, you want pals just in case you need to fly, or maybe you want to be going across the land quicker, but don't necessarily always fill all 5 slots if XP grinding is what you're really after. Or just accept that they're not going to get as much as some of the lower level ones. Now clearly, like every other game, go in, craft something, you're going to get some XP. But what happens is when you're at your base, your pals in your party will also share in that XP, as will you do for any work that pals do around your base. It's why it's important to never let your base not have anything going on. Even if you're not at your base, XP does get earned by the pals whenever they're actually crafting and making something. And then as soon as you step in your base, you share some of that XP, you'll get it, and so will the creatures in your party. Capturing tames is the best way to go nowadays, like I said, before you get your first 10. But after that, absolutely go ham, killing lots of creatures. Obviously gathering items also gives you small amounts of XP, and it does kind of scale. At the early stages you'll only be getting 4 XP maybe for picking up a piece of wood or a rock, but later on you may get maybe 60 or 70. In the early part of the game you do gain XP by harvesting resources like chopping trees down, but as you progress it pretty much stops that from happening. I don't know exactly when, but definitely with my level 50 character now I don't get any XP when I chop a tree down. You gain XP by base building as well, and don't think that you can just place the crafting bench, see that it pops up some XP and then go ahead and dismantle it and do it again. It will reduce your XP. It will take away whatever XP you gained when you destroy something. And certain stations don't necessarily give you XP. I've noticed that maybe the stone and the wood ones, certainly my level 50 character now, I don't get any kind of XP even if I've got pals working on them. Of course, base raid defense is also a great way to earn XP, but you get it from killing the creatures, not necessarily completing the raid. So again, this is a great time to make sure you've got the right pals in your party if you want to power level certain pals. What you do get a ton of XP for, obviously within your base and crafting, is production. Absolutely setting up your factories and make sure that you're always crafting something. You've always got something on the go. Sure, some resources you might want to save for something particular, but if you've started to gain thousands and thousands of wood or stone that you're not going to use, then go ahead and start making loads of coal, or maybe if you've got loads of bones, you might be able to craft loads of cement with any power liquid. You're always going to need spheres. Even the most basic ones you'll end up running out despite catching some of them out in the wild or getting them from boxes. So again, whenever you've got a sphere actual crafting bench, go ahead and make sure you're producing lots of them as well. You may feel you're missing out because you're not at base and not gaining that XP, but of course the creatures at your base are all gaining that XP, which means they're going to do so much better if you decide to take them out. Now obviously you can't increase what they do at the factory with just XP gains. Instead it is all about giving them their special souls to level up, and then you can increase how quickly they work. A few other smaller things now. Obviously your XP bonus, like I said, for taming 10 creatures, it pretty much is the same no matter what creature level it is. You don't have to go and find harder creatures to go ahead necessarily and get more XP. It's all tied to your player level. If you're playing on hard difficulty, actually you'll find that sometimes XP bonus isn't as much for combat. If you're playing on hard modes, you still gain the same amount of XP bonus when taming 10 creatures, but yeah, you will see it reduced a little bit for pretty much everything you do, but combat especially. A really early game good thing to go ahead and grind out is arrows. As mentioned before, charcoal's also a good one to keep making once you get the right smelter. And don't miss out on cooking. Yes, you can leave a creature there to do the job as well, but if you are helping out, especially if you've got something where you've been farming loads of eggs on your farms, go ahead and make tons of omelettes with them. Yeah, the food might spoil, but you can always get a cooler box for it, or just make sure you're always feeding your pals the best foods. And at any food box that you put food in, make sure you give them the best food in the first slot, as that's the slot that they'll always take food from, until it runs out. I do believe you gain some XP if you gather some crops, but you don't necessarily get XP for every stage of farming, so it might not be actually as beneficial as simply going ahead and crafting a bunch of items. Then again, it might be because I'm really high level, I just wasn't getting any XP, but don't necessarily set up a huge massive farm to grow thousands of crops, unless of course it is going to be the end game of being able to cook all the different recipes and gain lots of XP that way. Bit obvious here, but make sure you've got plenty of bases. Obviously, if you do the missions that your power box is telling you to do, you'll effectively unlock more power boxes that you can place down and have multiple bases. You've probably seen the method now where people are gaining thousands of ore by setting up a digging site like this, where you've got your best diggers with level 2, finding where ore is and getting them to go ahead and just mine it, making sure you've got a box to dump it all in eventually. Ore respawns, and so these guys are leveling up as well, but utilize every base. Make sure every base has got multiple pals out. It can be easy to maybe think I can't be bothered actually managing them sometimes, or got to make sure I've got food for them all, and you might have dumped them in one of them exhibit boxes where they don't have to eat if you place them inside, but it's still definitely worth actually getting them grinding and just gathering resources. This one's kind of a bad move because they're not actually gaining that much XP because they're only mining, and like I said, at some point it kind of stops you getting XP just by harvesting resources. So if you commit to this, then absolutely make sure you've got furnaces set up here, and you've got one site dedicated to smelting, one site dedicated to farming, and then one site where it's mainly your main kind of crafting area or production factory. That's what I've tried doing anyway. Repeatedly killing alphas is also still a good way to gain XP, since you don't necessarily get any more ancient points after the first time you've killed a new alpha. But you might not get as much as the first time that you did kill it. You'll know in dungeons there's plenty of alphas that you can actually go and get. Did you know that if you actually leave and come back in, it resets the alpha? Well, it should do anyway. If it's not working, try going all the way back to the start dungeon and then come back in. So what you can do here is you can absolutely farm and get 10 of each variant as much as you want pretty easily. Each time a new alpha is going to spawn here with these minions, you capture the minions, you don't do anything to the alpha, and then you just come back in. When you come back in again, there'll be a new alpha and new minions. Alphas do contribute also to the 10 bonus as well, so if you do need that last one, then sure, go ahead and get it. So of course, no pals will earn XP if they're just inside your pal box. They've got to be at the base to earn XP for themselves. And don't panic if any of your pals get knocked out, they'll still gain XP. And that's pretty much it. You don't really get XP for just looting chests. You don't get any XP for effigies either, although obviously they're still beneficial to get. And fast travel points, still no XP, but you will obviously get a technology point that you can use to unlock new blueprints. Eggs though, obviously it is just a resource that you gather, and so you will get XP. And of course, somehow you missed it in the game settings, you can increase your XP gain by up to 20 times the amount if you put the slider all the way to the right. So check that in the world settings, you can adjust this at any time and it doesn't affect you getting any achievements. And something definitely more advanced, but later on when you're more powerful, you can go and capture some of the traders. Whether it's the black marketeer or it's just a simple PAL vendor that you find in the world, you can actually kill these guys and get a ton of gold, or if you capture them, but either way, you're going to get a ton of XP. Even better, they will respawn pretty much every time you log in and out. So again, if you really want a power level, that's another way. Obviously, alphas and overworld bosses, they are going to give you the most XP, so make sure you always go towards the tower, find the fast travel point, and make sure it's marked so you can come back later, as you're not always going to be ready to take one of these on, but it'd be nice and handy to come back when you are. And yes, you can keep coming back and fighting these guys and getting XP as well. But again, you only get a nice big lot of ancient points the first time you kill it. And then the last thing to talk about is obviously what you're going to be gaining with all your levels. You do get to level 50, you've obviously got lots of blueprints. There is a mind wipe tonic that you can create at level 43 by unlocking the electric medicine cabinet. However, there's a bit of a glitch at the moment I warned people about in a separate video, so check to see if it's been fixed, maybe join the Palworld Discord or make sure you subscribed and I'll do a video talking about if it has. Because it was resetting people's capture rate and they were unable to get it back up. So that's a big deal. You don't want to mind wipe everything and then find out you can't capture higher level tames anymore. I'm sure it will be fixed soon, but obviously yes, you have got a limited amount of blueprints that you can get unless you're going to be using one of the mine tonics, and I'm sure it's going to take up a lot of resources. So just think carefully about what you want. You will be able to get more technology points. You'll find them from schematics that you can get from the 2 chests at the end of pretty much every major dungeon. Also find little booklets that drop from certain pals that you can use to gain 1 point each too. And obviously use up all your effigies to increase your capture level, and make sure you're using all of your souls to power up your pals more as well. You go and check that video out, I'll leave it in the comment section down below if you want just my top tips about what blueprints you should be unlocking, what schematics are worth it or not. And there we go, I'll see you ratbags for more Palworld guides soon, bye bye.